Right, I'm embarrassed because apparently you can see a landfill from space. Look it up. Look on Google Images and you will see a satellite picture of a landfill from space. I'm embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. I do my best to fact check everything I share, but please don't take any action based on the information here. And definitely don't quote me in your dissertation. Also, some viewer discretion is advised. Some stories may include graphic or potentially triggering content, so please take care when listening. And if I laugh at any point, just know it's never at the history or the people involved. Sometimes I just get a little awkward, or the drama is too wild not. Hello! Welcome back. Welcome everybody to the finale, the final episode of History in High Heels, the podcast, Halloween edition 2025. How are we all doing? Usually we talk about scandals or we talk about overlooked stories and history that you might not have learned in school. But today I wanted to do something different. Today I want to tell a story that is happening right now. And it is one of the scariest, most urgent stories of our time. It's happening now. Ghosts, vampires, werewolves? Forget them, because they're not in today's story. The scariest story of all isn't fiction. It's real and it's happening right now, and it's terrifying. Like I'm actually scared. So, without further ado, welcome to the finale Halloween special of History in High Heels. Tonight, I'm telling the horror story of our age. One of mass extinction, loss, and human responsibility. Climate change. When I decided to create this podcast, one thing I really wanted to do was to have a platform to shine a light on real problems in the world, even if it is on a podcast called History in High Heels. So this is chapter 1, early awareness. Fossil fuel companies new. So guys, let's go back in a time machine. Okay, let's do that thing where we go back in time to a date I like to call the 70s. Ooh. Is that the night fever, night fever? We got to do it. Right, it's not the time for that. It's actually a very serious episode, okay? In the 1970s, even then, fossil fuel companies were... Did you know that they were like fully aware that burning oil, gas and coal could warm the planet? Internal documents, especially from Exxon, sorry if that's pronounced wrong, show that scientists by the late 70s had models predicting rising temperatures. How do you feel about that? Let's continue. Exxon even projected, so they predicted how much warming might occur over the coming decades. But rather than acting, the company downplayed the risks and funded public messaging and campaigns that sowed confusion. Guys! Can I just do a shameless self-plug? And if you've not watched The Radium Girl, like where else have we heard of that? Oh yeah, my very first episode, The Radium Girls, which resulted in people dying, women dying. So check that out if you want to be enraged, and we can all be enraged together. But it wasn't just Exxon. It wasn't just them. It was other companies, many other companies. Shell. You know, the petrol? They acknowledged the possibility of climate change in internal and adjacent reports. So let's just keep in mind here that this isn't just a corporate misjudgment. It's not a little itty-bitty mistake. It's a moral failure. Don't get me wrong, like this isn't the core root of why there is global warming, but oh man, did it help. But okay, let's just take a breather for a sec, because that was, 1970. So what are we, 2025 just now? How much damage really could have happened, like, you know, in that time? Let's get real for a second here, okay? Because I live in Glasgow, which is a very big city in Scotland. We have actually had a few severe storms this past while, and one of them was even classed as a threat to life. And I remember, I think it was in like, it must have been like March or something. It was at the start of the year. I couldn't even go into work. Like, schools were closing and I wasn't allowed to go to work because there was, you know, risk to life. So there was a risk of debris being blown about. People's garages were destroyed. Trees fell on houses. Power cuts. That was quite real, wasn't it? It was a bit of a wake-up call. Bit of a weird storm. And then there was Storm Amy not that long ago as well, and that battered parts of the northern and western Europe, so places, you know, including the UK, Ireland, Scandinavia, and they had powerful winds. There was heavy rains. My family got a power cut. I'm sure that many other families had power cuts, and in fact there were reports of flooding and, again, even fatalities. But even if you're not from Scotland, right, and even if you're not from Glasgow, it's weird because even around the world, the weather is becoming more extreme and it's becoming more frequent and it's becoming more destructive. Like earlier this year in Central Texas, there was catastrophic flooding. It was unbelievable. I remember hearing the story, and it was something crazy, like months worth of rain had fallen within a matter of hours. And homes were being swept away, cars, houses, people died. It was like seeing the river flow. It's unbelievable. It's weird how all this stuff is happening, isn't it? But it's not weird, actually, because these events are not isolated. They're not isolated at all. In fact, it's a pattern. Hello? You shouldn't roll your eyes when somebody says climate change. Scientists are warning us that as the planet warms, storms and floods like this are expected to become more intense and more unpredictable. And here is where it hits closer to home on our everyday habits. Our constant buying, ordering, and consuming, that plays a huge part. So think about all the Amazon deliveries, right? The production, the working lines to feed our insatiable demand. We're addicted to spending. There's plenty of documentaries on Netflix to watch about how we are addicted to spending and buying and always wanting more. And I actually watched a documentary recently that explored how companies use the data that we give them permission to on our phones. So they even track our facial reactions. So they can show us an advert, and of course this is alleged, but they can show us an advert and the phone can track what our face does and how it reacts to it to show us more. Guys, it's freaking crazy. Anyway, this is terrifying to think about how deeply this overconsumption feeds into our climate crisis. Here's the next bit. And I know we've all done it. Okay? But speaking of overconsumption, it is time to speak about one of the biggest culprits, guys. And it's hiding in plain sight. It's fast fashion. I know. Fashion. I'm upset because fashion. I love it. But let's get serious for a second because, guys, I watched, again, Netflix. Netflix are Can we chat about that, please, actually? Netflix are coming through with the documentaries. Right. Back to serious mode. They really are, though, aren't they? There's so many good documentaries on there at the moment. But let's just get real for a second because I watched a documentary. I'm pretty sure it was the same one as I referenced earlier. And holy moly, we have so much waste. It's this one, guys. It's this one. I found it. Right, I had to look at the Netflix documentaries. This is your homework, okay? Treat yourself to a month of Netflix, and I want you to go and watch something called Earthstorm, and that will teach you about the destruction of natural disasters and how they're becoming more extreme. And then I also want you to go on Netflix and I want you to watch Buy Now, The Shopping Conspiracy. The way that they portray it, so easy to understand. They visualize what millions and millions of garments looks like as it's being thrown away. Guys, it's giving WALL-E, it's giving Disney, WALL-E, WALL-E's trapped on the earth. Let's just deep that for a minute, okay? All the humans are in a spaceship waiting to come back to Earth because the Earth is so toxic that no one can live in it. Watch WALL-E because that is it's a fantastic movie, but it is so before its time. It's an amazing film. I actually watched it quite recently. It's an amazing film. Back to the topic, back to the seriousness. So globally, approximately 92, this is just going to sound like numbers to you, but 92 million tons of textile waste are produced annually, with a significant portion ending up in landfills or being incinerated. That is a statistic from earth.org. So basically, with fast fashion, many of the discarded items, because let's just think about it, okay? You have like a party coming up, or maybe Halloween. Hey, it was Halloween. Let's buy a costume online. Let's go to some sort of fast fashion website. Oh, wear it once. And then it stays in the wardrobe for ages, like a couple of years, and then, you know, you're going to chuck it out. So you never wore it. You can chuck it out. If you want to sell it, I advise selling it on Vinted, but there you go. So many of the discarded items are made from mixed materials like rubber, plastic, leather, synthetics, okay? So all of these mixed materials take a really long time to break down. How many years do you think? Because it takes decades. It actually, for some materials, takes centuries, hundreds of years to break down these materials. And during that time, they can leach harmful chemicals into the soil and the waterways. Think of the animals. So yeah, overconsumption is a significant part of the problem. The number of times a garment is worn before being discarded has declined by around 36% in the last 15 years. That is a statistic from Business Waste. And you know what? I can absolutely believe in that, because for some reason we have got this weird narrative in our head where you can't outfit repeat. I know that celebrities do it, and you might not realize how much of a problem it actually is. So what this is trying to do is just draw attention and make you aware that this is very much a problem. It's overconsumption. Like I saw once, I think it was, I'm sorry, Dr. Dre, but I saw him, he had a whole wall of Air Force Ones. You don't need that many Air Force Ones. They're all the same. Like, this is the kind of stuff that is ruining our planet, okay? According to like statistics, allegedly, most people would actually want to buy sustainability, and brands don't always make it easy to find eco-friendly options. Why? Why do you think? If you can take anything away from this video, we have to stop treating our belongings as disposable. Repair, reuse, recycle. Every time we save from landfill, we step towards a healthier planet. No, right, I'm embarrassed because apparently you can see a landfill from space. Look it up. Look on Google Images and you will see a satellite picture of a landfill from space. I'm embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed. Then, you know, let's just think about the obvious thing. When you think of, well, the obvious thing to me, when somebody says climate change, my first thought is the ice cap. I don't know about you, but the first thing that I think of is the ice caps melting. So who lives around there? Who kicks about there? And it's the polar bears. Because of global warming, the Arctic Sea is retreating, and this is happening faster than it has ever happened before. Polar bears, you know, the cute little fluffy things that you probably wouldn't want to come in contact with, they actually depend on the ice to hunt for seals, and without it, they really struggle to survive. We're making it really hard for the polar bears, okay? Naturally, the population of polar bears are declining, and it's across many regions. Some climate models project that by the mid-century, if this current trend continues, bye-bye polar bears. Because a significant portion of polar bears would just vanish. But it's not just about one species, of course. Melting ice accelerates sea level rise and disrupts ocean currents. Okay? I bet you didn't think about the currents in the sea. Huh? We'll talk about that in a minute, because that is scary. If you've got a fear of open water, baby, you're going to be terrified. So this this whole thing, the sea level rising, okay, all of that intensifies storms, it intensifies floods and extreme weather globally. Polar bears are a warning. And what we do to our world, we do to their world. That really gets me, because it's not just about the polar bears, but we're ruining the animals' worlds as well, and they didn't do anything. And you know something else I heard? Now, I don't have factual evidence to back this up because somebody told me it, but allegedly, I guess, I was told that we could be the first ever species to extinct ourselves. And that is embarrassing. But guys, let's talk about ocean currents, because this is terrifying, okay? If you think about the ocean, right, think of it as a giant conveyor belt of moving heat, nutrients, and salts around the planet. And they actually regulate the climate. So the Gulf Stream, for instance, so it's a really powerful current in the Atlantic Ocean. So that transports warm water from the tropics towards Europe. And this helps keep the UK and France milder than they'd otherwise be. If they change or slow, get a bit lazy, then weather extremes follow. Hot spells in one region, floods in another, and winter storms elsewhere. When the ice melts, large volumes of fresh water pour into the sea. Just so you know, fresh water is lighter than salt water, and that can disturb how currents flow. And scientists warn, okay, that if the Atlantic, and we're gonna call it AMOC, which includes, that massive current that I just said, the Gulf Stream, if that slows down too much, we could see things like rising sea levels from the US East Coast, stronger Atlantic hurricanes, disrupted monsoons, and wild temperature swings in Europe. And when that system is disturbed, it doesn't only affect distant regions. It threatens the storms, the floods, the heat waves, and even food supply chains. The ocean currents are essentially the heartbeat of the whole planet. If you mess with them, then the whole system is jeopardized. So another huge driver of climate change is fossil fuels. You guessed it. Coal, oil, gas. Yes, they power your homes, our cars, factories, all of it. But burning them releases carbon dioxide, and that traps heat in the atmosphere. That's contributing to warming oceans, melting ice, and fueling the kinds of extreme weather that I've just discussed. I need some coffee because this is intense. Okay, so it's not just about everyday energy use, okay? The luxury emissions are making it worse. So it's the private jets. There's fireworks going off. People are trying to record a podcast. Thank you. Anyway, so we've got private jets, super yachts. You know, they might sound really fun, but actually they're really bad. They're really bad. And you know what is one of my pet peeves? Celebrities or people just that are rich and can do this, doing short flights. You know, like private jets doing short flights. Really, really, really gets to me. It does, because the release of carbon dioxide is massive per trip. Okay, so let me just put this into perspective. One short private jet flight can emit as much as a typical person's weekly emissions. One trip for one person's weekly emissions. So this whole lifestyle, okay, that is cooking the planet. We may as well put the planet in an oven and set it to 180 degrees and expect a loaf of bread to come out. Like, it is cooking the planet. So while everyday people try and make small changes, like, you know, I'm over here using wild natural deodorant. Guys, you should actually try it. I actually really liked it. Buying secondhand, something else I can really recommend is Vinted. You know how many items of clothing on there that have only been worn once and are like half the price? I use that all the time, and you can sell your old stuff on it as well. So these small acts, okay, they do matter. They do. And you should do it. But the burden can't just fall on us. Okay, it's not just our fault. It's the big companies and the wealthy lifestyles. They need to be held accountable. I know that hearing all of this, I know it feels completely hopeless, because I thought that too when I was learning it. I was like, what have we done? How is this reversible? And you almost think like one person's actions can change the entire trajectory of the planet, but the change is possible. So I've decided to include some rays of hope for you guys, so that you don't walk away from this podcast with a completely defeatist attitude, okay? It's not too late. It is still not too late, because look at the bright side, okay? Renewable energy, that's happening. Solar, wind, you know, electric cars. They're among the fastest expanding electricity sources globally. So that's good. Many countries are seeing emissions plateau or even decline in certain sectors. Nature, one of the most beautiful things about nature is that it can heal. So protect the forests, restore wetlands, expand marine protected areas. Those help absorb carbon dioxide and strengthen the ecosystems. Activism, youth movements, public pressure, all pushing governments and corporates to act. That is doing something. And you know what else I noticed, right? So did you ever see those Just Stop Oil people I think they're in London, and, you know, I actually think they're about the whole place. They walk in front of cars holding hands to stop the traffic, and they slow it down and things like that. And I used to get really frustrated watching these videos, because I imagine myself as the driver. And I'm like, Mev, you know, it's infuriating. And then I watched a video once, and it was on TikTok, and it was of this man, and he was at the front of the queue in his car. And instead of, you know, doing the whole, like, let me pass, he was like, said something like, now I can't quote this because I can't really remember, but he said something along the lines of, I agree with them, so I don't mind waiting. And I was like, it completely shifted my perspective. Because, like, what? Like, yes, it is incredibly frustrating. But, and do I agree with their methods? No. Like, I'm going to be honest. But I there's something about it, and definitely think that there should be exceptions. I really don't know the ins and outs of this whole traffic thing. They should definitely let ambulances and emergency services past and things like that. Like where I live, we have not had any of those, touch wood. Just oil, holds up with the traffic. So I don't really know what I'm talking about here. So I don't agree with their methods. However, I appreciate their bold attempt to grasp attention, because it is a serious issue that requires drastic attention. It needs it needs a serious wake-up call like that to attract attention, to get people to wake up and realize that this is happening now. Okay, it's happening now. Yes, you can still go to your meeting, and yes, you might have to go swimming, and you're meeting somebody for lunch, but hello, like, this is happening now. Like, when are you gonna take, people keep thinking, the world keeps turning, we'll deal with it later, the world keeps turning. What if the world doesn't? This is a serious issue. What if the world stops turning? I think that they have bravery, but it needs to be channeled into a way that is actually constructive for the matter. It also reminds me, I don't think that gluing yourself to, a wall outside a painting, or what was it, a bench? I can't remember. I don't think that that's constructive for what we're trying to do here. But I appreciate that they're trying. So maybe, that's some food for thought. You don't need to agree with me. You're allowed your own opinion, okay? But yeah, I guess that's just something that I wanted to say. Climate crisis is real, urgent, and it is truly terrifying. But it can be slowed and maybe reversed. Small actions really do count, but the real shift requires bold, systematic change, corporate responsibility, and coordinated global will. The tools exist and the solution exists. The question is, will we act in time? So what do? Start with small things. Reduce, reuse, recycle. I bet you will learn that in primary school. But don't stop there. Demand climate change from the top. Hold corporations and governments accountable. Support leaders who put the planet first, because if we don't act now, then this scariest story of all becomes our reality. Now, I'm sitting here, okay? I'm not an angel. I'm not perfect, and I'm sure I've contributed in some way, but we can make changes where we can. Reusable shopping bags, reduce packaging. So we don't like double packaged things, okay? The other thing is, awareness is the first step. Action must follow. And I care. And I'm asking you to care too. Okay? If we all act, even a little bit, even a teeny little bit, we have a chance to rewrite this story. Thank you for listening to my Halloween special of History in High Heels. Stay informed, stay engaged, and above all, stay hopeful. Because together, we can make a difference.